welcome to a new episode of the TypeScript Tea Time. I'm your host, Mirko Mace. Welcome, welcome. Mace's Grace is in the house. Yeah. How are you doing? Welcome everybody to the TypeScript Tea Time. We are currently working on a T-shop. And look what kind of cool thing I've got for the stream. Ooh, lighting. Now you can actually see my face. I don't know whether that's actually a good thing or a bad thing. But anyway. You like the music. In fact, Randomind, the person who made this music and allows it to be used, only a month ago he released a new one. There we go, Harvest Season. But I haven't downloaded and added it yet. Currently we still hear everything up until that song. So if you have some time, check it out. Randomind, cool dude. Consider following or supporting him on Patreon. I actually don't know him in person. But he's making good music. Right. Okay. On the agenda, I'm kind of on the jump, and today was again kind of a busy work day. Last week we're currently in the planning phase, which makes things a little more complicated timing wise. And last week I had to completely skip. This week we have the session, but however, I'm kind of still on the run. I don't even have tea. Homeless 207. Hello there. What are you doing today, Master Professor? I'm not a Master Professor, I'm a Master of Science. Ooh. Math. I'm doing good. As I said, I'm just came in from work now for some coding here with you guys. The to-do list is however wrong, and we have lighting. Ooh, look at my hands. they are shiny. I haven't kind of like 2 minutes before the stream I noticed, my lighting, my camera setting, I haven't adjusted them for the new lighting, so I had to do that as well. And now it's not perfect, but at least you can see my face now. Oh, this is how it looks. Oh my god, my eyes. So I have on here on the to-do list that we should check NX, and I actually want to do that, but I don't think I will do it now. NX is a pretty interesting idea when working with monorepos. So monorepo, for the guys who don't know yet. Monorepo meaning in one GitHub or Git repository, you have multiple projects typically belonging to the same company or oftentimes same space or application. Like you have the front-end code, you have the back-end code in one repository, but in different folders. And you have the, infrastructure code maybe in another package. One repo, back-end and front-end in one repository, exactly. Most famously, I think it's Google, if I'm not mistaken, who has one, it must be gigantic, one big repository for all their stuff. And of course, so typically what I've seen in smaller monorepos, like only front and back end, you have one command that runs everything locally, or maybe builds Docker containers to build everything. NX makes this even more scalable and faster. Using the cloud partially, for example, if somebody builds a container, if somebody on your team builds one specific container, it also automatically somehow magically. I don't know anything about it yet, but that's what I've heard. It puts it from that person's computer into a cloud registry. So when you want to start it locally, you don't have to actually build it yourself. Instead, you just take it from the cloud registry, the container, and then it's there. I'm doing backend currently mostly. And I started on the backend, so I also feel more comfortable on the backend. Let me see. So Homeless says, nice, some people told me to use the any type in TypeScript, and I don't know why. I use it for almost everything, it's convenient. Yeah, it is convenient. The unfortunate part is you lose your type safety, which means there's no difference to using JavaScript in a sense. You have even less effect than JavaScript if you use the any type pretty much everywhere. Basically any tells the compiler to just shut up and let you do your thing, which means, well, you don't really skip the compiler, but you just ignore whatever the compiler would say to you, which means, well, if you do it right, I don't know, there's a proper way to write JavaScript, I suppose. I can't do it, at least not in the scalable way. And yeah, any is basically downgrade your TypeScript into to JavaScript, just saying to the compiler, shut up, I'm doing the right thing, don't worry. For example, if I have spacing here, it has specific type. If I put in here an object, for example, okay, that actually works. Let's see. Display. Yeah. For example, here, if I put in hey, 1, 2, 3, hopefully this errors. No, it doesn't. Man, it's surprisingly hard to generate it. An error. Ah, there it is. I think it was just slow. 1, 2, 3. So now it says, oh, well, this object that you're trying to put into the display property. I mean, this is basically TypeScript, but wrapped in a HTML format, essentially. If I write as any here, the top compiler will just stop shouting. There it is. At some point I just stopped caring anymore. Yeah. So here you would say to the compiler, don't worry about it, compiler. I know what I'm doing. And then you just give it a completely, in this case, non-functional thing. If I do this, this won't do anything on the display. It's just not working. And the compiler would tell you, if you hadn't this any, there it is. Instead, it would be better if you have the proper type. There are places for any, absolutely, I think. Particularly in testing, if you don't have split out the interfaces properly. There are places where I think it's okay to use any, but there are few of them. Let's see, what else? My tea is waiting, in fact. I did hear the click from a water boiler. So coming back to NX, I would like to check it out, but I don't, in particular because we are basically having the opportunity to use monorepo here. I'm having one repository, episode 44. Actually, they are in the same repository even. Like, strictly speaking, they are in the same repository, but they are not set up as a monorepo. Not at all. I just was too lazy I was just too lazy to put every single episodes of our tea time here in a separate repository. So here we kind of have the opportunity, because we have a backend and we have a corresponding front end. This is the front end here, and this is the backend using NestJS stuff. So there's an opportunity to make it into a monorepo so that it's easier to. The hope is it's easier to manage as time goes by. But I don't think my brain is ready to do this today. I think I would need to fiddle around with it ever so slightly. But it does sound very interesting. Smart rebuild, NX only rebuilds and retests what is affected by your change, for example. If you push a change, instead of rebuilding 20 packages, so inside of a monorepo, you then have small kind of projects, they're called packages. It would only build the stuff that's actually needed and also only test the stuff that's actually needed, which is like, wow. Let's just say every package takes 1 minute to unit test. That's 20 times. If you don't do it in parallel, that's 20 minutes. And here it just boils it down to like 2 minutes if you touch 2 packages, and if you really touch every single package, it will be 20. Sometimes other developers are misusing my code. How can I make my code harder to misuse by other developers? In what sense? Are you building a library? It depends a lot on what you're doing. So the first thing I would say to avoid misuse is to make it clear how and for what or why the code is designed the way it is, and what's the use case that you imagine it to be. And only one function is public, and they are still misusing the static properties. Well, that's not good. In TypeScript, they wouldn't. Well, there is a way to access the private properties, but it really shouldn't be the case. That's a thing for your team. If something like that happens, it's just team decision. What you want to do with it. You should find the proper explanation if you are the one who has to explain them, and you are the one who's most senior. You have to make them understand why it's not a good pattern to touch the private variables. Or maybe it's not clear to them that these are the private variables. Maybe the convention is not clear. I think in JavaScript you often see. Do I have a function here anywhere? You often see in JavaScript. Wait, is this Python? I think it's Python, the double subscript, right? How do you do it in JavaScript? I forgot. Yeah, but I think it's important to make them understand why you think it's not a good pattern. What are the problems that could arise, or do arise, maybe ideally in a sense. Ideal for your argument, not good for your project. The problems that arise if they fiddle around with private variables, even though they should be really using the function that's public. Yeah. So that's one idea. I think it would be part of the job of a senior developer, or at least a more higher level developer. But you can absolutely argue for your case as a junior as well, I think, and you should, in a sense, develop an understanding. In particular, explaining the stuff really helps you understand what you're doing as well. So what are we actually doing today? The big question. We have an after functionality. That sounds reasonable for us to accomplish. Let me refresh the to-dos. I think this is the command that I have. Yeah, up there. And then let's take a look at Amazon. The D. By the way, did you notice I'm using the browser, the Chrome profile feature now to avoid doxing me, ever so slightly at least. Maybe if you're streaming, that's might be something that is useful to be aware of. Basically, you click here on your profile in Chrome. I won't do it, and then you can either choose a different one. Maybe you have one profile for streaming. I consider adding one, or you can just do it as a guest, which is an ever so slightly nicer porn mode, I think. Maybe it's even the same as a porn mode, like the incognito mode. Let's use the proper name. Did we build the navbar last time? Like seriously? Now that I think about it. Did we build it last time? How can we write good unit tests? That starts with the definition of unit tests. You probably mean like really one specific part of the code. The difference between mocks and stubs. There was a colleague of mine a few companies back who in every single interview that we had together, he asked people what's the difference between mocks and stubs. And what I find most interesting about it is if you look at Jest, which is one of the I think 2 or 3 very, very big JavaScript testing libraries, the other being Mocha, and then together with something else like Chai and so on. Jest basically has everything inbuilt, comes very well fits in the React ecosystem and is built by Facebook actually, so be prepared. But what it does is it doesn't really do any, at least I find. If you look at the Jest definition of a mock, it's something completely different than a Mocha mock. And if you look at a stub, you don't even find it in Mocha. Or in I think it's sign-on, what you might be thinking of, which is about spice, stubs, and mocks. Personally, I don't think there's much of a difference between mocks and stubs. Yeah, full stop. I don't think there's much difference. Spice is basically when you, maybe if we look at some code here. So I can share some links here. So sign-on is one of the big libraries. You don't need sign-on typically if you use Jest. Jest basically has everything built in. Jest can be a bitch to set up. Yeah, some people say mocks can do more than stubs. I would argue, no, they're the same. Pretty much the same. Or at least there's only, in particular in JavaScript, because you have functions just as object properties. Yeah, so maybe I can imagine that in Java and stuff it makes more of a difference, but in JavaScript I don't see much of a difference between them, let's say. And yes, there is no common opinion. The fun part about the thing that my previous coworker was, he was really just, I want the answer and it must be this. it must be this. Yeah, there's also proxies, by the way, which is another pattern, but it's also just a spy in a sense. They all, at its core, they pretty much all do the same, spy and proxy, which is controlling access to an object. In the case of a spy, typically you kind of have a function and you wrap it with a spy, and if you call it, the spy first gets called and then forwards everything to the actual function. So you can then inspect the spy to do something. I always use dummy. Dummy is a word that I haven't found in this case. Yeah, they're all pretty much doing the same thing. If you look at their purpose, they are very, very similar. Many frameworks don't even distinguish between stub and mock. There you have it. Yeah, so I wouldn't bother too much. The important thing is that you know what you want to do and then have the right tool at your hand to do the job right. And it depends a bit on the framework to exactly do what you want. In Jest, I typically use these two functions, which is one is jest. I think I have jest here in the backend. Do I? Yes. The first one being jest.spyOn, and you basically feed it with an object, and you look at at a specific method that it has that you want to kind of observe and that you want to wrap around. You can even build them yourself if you want. And then there's jest.fn, which then has like mock return value, mock implementation and stuff, which is the mock/stub thing. getID is a function that returns the number 12. That would be a dummy. No, that's a stub. Okay. As I said, a name is a name. Of course, it would be nice if there is consens, but at some point I just accepted that. I forgot. There's one famous speaker. He's mostly in the Python world. It's semantic diffusion. I think that's the term. Oh, it's even from Martin Fowler. Even. At some point, when a term becomes new, there might be a very precise definition, or there might not be because it's not yet fully developed. For example, microservice, and then everybody starts using it and using it sometimes in the wrong way and sometimes in the right way, and all of a sudden you have this word and it doesn't mean anything or way too much, at least. This is semantic diffusion. I like the concept. For example, apparently there are two terms at the moment, agile and Web 2.0. I think aren't we already in 3? I don't know. And there were definitions, but by now pretty much everybody uses the word agile, and nobody there is the Agile Manifesto, but by now Agile is much more and much less as well. And the Agile Manifesto is really not that long if you look at it in English. There it is. That's the whole manifest. That's Agile, at least at the very beginning. But by now we have safe, Agile, and Scrum and stuff, and Lean, which also kind of fit into that thinking and so on. And they all fit together, and Agile was adjusted to more than just software. And all of a sudden you have this term that everybody uses, and everybody says we're doing Agile. But at the end, nobody can really say. At least without specifying a more precise source of truth, I would say. In a sense, have you heard of single source of truth? Or single point of truth, apparently also called. Which basically, in case there should only be one person or one place where the real value of something is saved. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Particularly, I think in terms of relational databases, it sometimes becomes important. That's a database. Yeah, sometimes. But even in a database, you can do. You could have duplicate data, and then you already inside of the data you don't have a single source of truth. This is the concept that it might also be a service. Like if you look at a larger system consisting of multiple services, you could say that only one service really has the real values, and you should refer to that. It's also used in DNS. There are authoritative DNS servers. Authoritative? Authentic? No, authoritative, yeah. They are the ones that really have your DNS, so your domain name saved. And they are the truth. I think they are I think they're even there they have fallbacks, which could have a different value. Just because it's a how do they call it? A distributed system. And distributed systems, there the single source of truth becomes more and more important. I want to build a website with WordPress and host it online. Yeah, that's sweet. Nice. Yeah. I think there are a lot of great tools that help you with that. So you don't have to do it from scratch. Or if you do it from scratch, it might also be a nice learning experience. But if you do it from scratch, just a word of advice. It's well meant. If you do it from scratch and it's actually production value and you want to do business with it, consider getting help from Amazon and letting it hosted, or from, I think WordPress itself already has WordPress, which you can then justify. So you don't have the terrible job of managing your own server and managing the making database updates and software updates and whatnot, and you can really concentrate on your PHP code. Oh yeah. Then it's at least a lot nicer. Yeah, sweet. We're doing a lot of AWS here on the stream. Currently, I'm actually looking a bit into Azure, which I must say has a surprisingly nice, particularly compared to Amazon, a very nice UI. The UI of Amazon is just AWS is just like cool. They're doing microservices, and you also see the bad side of microservices because every team has a different UI basically, and the terms are different, even though they use pretty much the same pattern. Yeah. Azure is for C# developers. So a client, a possible client of mine is using it with NestJS. They're using it with, I mean, they are pretty much feature on feature parity, I think. Have you worked with Google Cloud? I haven't so far, besides just creating one service account, which is not a problem too much. Yeah, I think we're not doing coding today. I like I like the talking atmosphere, so it's fun. I absolutely enjoy this, although we're not doing coding. About semantic diffusion, sorry, I missed that message. REST API also suffers from the same. Yes, absolutely. By now, many people by REST just refer to regular HTTP requests using the HTTP words, but that might also actually be SOAP, or it might actually be RPC. But it kind of became synonymous, in particular with the advent of GraphQL. You often see that basically you have the alternatives of either REST or GraphQL, which is not true. There are more communication mechanisms leveraging HTTP. Yeah, but absolutely true, Mace. REST API is another semantic diffusion thing, which you have to be aware of as a developer in particular, or for example in an interview. Sometimes people just talk like this. they both say REST API and they both mean different things. That's, I think, thinking about it like that, domain-driven design pretty much is about that problem. So domain-driven design, one of the fundamentals upon which microservices are also built. In a very short way, in very, very short way. There's more to it. On the one hand, you want to have, so the business typically provides the terminology for the whole thing, right? Typically you already have a business and then you develop a software to abstract on and automate that business. And domain-driven design now says that your code should actually represent the model of the business domain. And you should use the same names and so on and so on. So that's one part of domain-driven design, at least. And there it's basically saying, when you talk to or at least when you switch from domain experts, business experts, to developers, avoid semantic diffusion. That's in a very simplified sense, that's what one large part of domain-driven design is all about. What about serverless? Do you see a future for this thing? Absolutely. For a couple of episodes, we've built the following. I mostly built it on my own, but part of it we also built here on stream. And just because I use it doesn't mean it's a thing, right? But I do absolutely see a future in it. Let me tell you why. Before I get into this backend thing that I just opened up. We've seen. Let's see. Maybe I find ISS, PaaS, SaaS. We've seen in the last few years, particularly with the advent of cloud and so on, we've seen a shift from. So do I have a? Let's see here. This one is what I look for. Thank you. That didn't work. Open image in new tab. thank you. Here we go. So we've seen a shift in the last years. Typically, the business you had on-site or on-premise, you had your own data center, or a bigger company, let's say. They had their own data center, they had their own people that managed that data center, they had their own network, their own storage, they had their own servers, and so on. Up to the point of applications. Where do we actually get the business value? Only when all of this is there. But where we actually abstract the business is only here on the data and applications level. So then infrastructure as a service, IaaS, came and became a thing. It basically stripped off all of these lower parts, and that's why I was saying to you, consider using Amazon or something. You are actually, I think, on this part here already. Here you would have a virtual machine, pretty much, or plus some more. And the rest is managed by, for example, AWS or Azure. And that already reduces the amount of work that you have to do to get a running server immensely. Basically, one of these servers you can get a VM for like 10 euros today, or $10 per month. Here you had to have a server. So let's see, buy a server rack. How much does a server rack cost? 17,000 euros for this one, and it's only backup. 197,000. Here's a 4,000 one. This one is very pricey, very nicely priced at 400, 600. But I'm not sure whether that's actually whether it's actually a server. But I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. 700 is not a bad price, maybe. But you had to at least invest $700, right? Then came infrastructure as a service. You basically click a button and you have a VM. And that's running for $10 a month, which means you already have saved yourself $700 and you can run it for 70 months, right? 700 divided by 10. You reduce the initial capital investment, and you still have, remind that basically if you do this, you still have the cost of this one, because you have to have somebody to maintain it. So this one is already greatly reduced in costs. Platform as a service goes further. This is basically what you do with Docker, Homeless. Or Heroku is also another one. Very easy to use. There are a couple of that. Azure also does it with other stuff. There's also container as a service. So container as a service kind of in the middle between here, because you still kind of choose your operating system, but you do it in a different way. On a server you can run a lot of VMs. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fair enough. That's true. So if you have like 20 or 70 maybe 70 VMs on that server rack, you might actually be cheaper. It might be actually be cheaper to have this one, although you still have to maintain it. So I think you're absolutely right. As of some size, it makes sense for a company possibly to do on-premise stuff. Also, sometimes it's necessary for data privacy reasons and so on, or for other legal reasons. Other times, or oftentimes, I would say, infrastructure as a service is already much cheaper. Container as a service is sometimes drawn in between here, I think, if I'm not mistaken. There you still have control about how the container actually looks like, what operating system is run on there, what kind of tools you install, and so on. Platform as a service, one of the most famous ones being Heroku, who's actually connecting at the backbone to AWS, if I'm not mistaken. So take that with a grain of salt. Here you basically, or platform SR is another one that I've recently seen. There are a couple of that. Here you just write your code, push your Git repository, and you don't have to fiddle around with Docker, which is one less tool that you have to work with, which is nice. Software as a service is the extremum. You don't write code, you just use their service. That's like HubSpot, for example, or Zapier. So HubSpot being a marketing and sales platform, or Zapier, or Trello. Good old Trello is also basically a software as a service, and so on. And then there's one step before this, I think, is where you still write your application code, but you don't do anything else. And that's serverless for me. You don't manage anything of this. You really just write the application code. Typically, when you work with serverless, it's about event driven. So there's something has to trigger the function, right? And typically that's an external event. It might be a REST call, or an API call. It might be another event, like a user was created here at the database. The database sends something to your serverless function, and then sends it over. By the way, serverless, when I talk about serverless, I'm typically talking about serverless functions. There's also more serverless stuff, which just refers to you don't manage anything of the underlying hardware, and you can't even see it. Ideally. The one that I come across most is AWS Lambda. Is it called AWS Lambda Data Processing? My browser is, for whatever reason, in German now. It's annoying. AWS Lambda. Yeah. This is the functions as a service from AWS. You just write your JavaScript code, and we can look at at one of these functions. In this repository that I have here in this nice little app that I've developed, we have a couple of Lambda functions here. And what you see is that it really does, in this case, only do one thing. Do we have a simple one? So what you basically just do is you have this handler function here. Can we zoom in a bit? Thank you. Like so. I hope you can see that. We have this handler function, and it receives some form of event. And then it gets called on an event. You have to set up with your provider, for example, AWS Lambda. You set up when these functions get called. For example, it's on a timer, or it has a connection to an API gateway, and then you receive a REST call. In this case, I actually connect to a REST endpoint, which has a post method and then a body, and then you just do JavaScript code and respond with something, and that's the complete thing that you write to abstract this business case, which is writing contribution, in this case to a Google Sheet, writing user input to a Google Sheet. And this is already your business logic. So you don't, with this, you don't really write any code that respond error in this function. I think it responds with a 400 error if it's a bad request. Human, please. He's a proof validation logic. I guess I guess I was influenced by this one in that. Well, no, that's the wrong one. Here, I can have cheeseburger. Yeah, so that's also just my code. What I basically do, the important part is probably this return. Basically, I just return the status code as well as the body and the header. So I don't write anything of the underlying, or at least very, very, very little of the underlying code that hosts this function. The whole code that hosts this function is inside of here, which is, if I go to write, is this code. That's all that's needed for me to deploy this function and to deploy this business case, if you think about it. So I don't need to write a Docker file. I don't need to fiddle around with anything. Yeah, all that I need to do is write this fun stuff. There are, of course, more complicated cases where you have to do like permissions and so on. Things get more complicated. But in its very, very, very basic form, you just have a function that gets an input and returns something. That's it. Like you're used to on JavaScript if you run a script. And you just have a function, do stuff that receives some input and then returns, I think it's status. It has to, depending on what you're doing, it has to return something. In this case, because I'm responding to an API request. But theoretically, it doesn't even have to do this. It could just say, save stuff in database, for example. Or maybe your function, your Lambda function, is just send an email. Send a welcome email. Welcome email is like a perfect example. Yeah. If your app gets a lot of requests, it depends. Serverless is really, like, every single execution is really cheap. But if you really have like millions of function calls and they are very long running in particular, then it can grow. It can grow. You're right. It can absolutely grow. So you should probably always a good idea to monitor your costs, right? I think that's definitely possible, both in Azure as well as in AWS. AWS, you can't really set a hard limit. That is, I don't think it's possible, but you can at least send yourself an email. For example, if you're above you say €5, the maximum that I want to spend each month, you can at least send yourself an email once you reach like €3 or €4, and then you can react manually on that. You can do more stuff, I think, automated, but I haven't looked into that too much. Like stop executions, but you have to set it up yourself. Yeah, so send a welcome email is a perfect example. So typically, what you would do architecturally, I've been working 2018 I've started, like really professionally, and before that I also worked like 2.5 years in university, but university is university. So I don't really count that. Let's get into this. I want to finish the welcome email. One very 18 months? No, it's more. 2018. So it's 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 20. Okay, this year probably doesn't count. 3.5 years. Yeah. Plus the 2.5 years that I've worked in university, which is it still counts kind of. So architecturally, one interesting thing for the if you count it nicely, then it's 5.5 years. If you count my hours on stream and the hours that I've actually spent doing backend work also in my private time, it's more. Then I spend a lot of time in front of my VS Code instance. That's it. So let's say you have a backend, architecturally. You have a backend and you have a user, so you have a front end as well, and you have a sign-up page. A user types in their sign-up credentials, like email and their password that they want to use, and maybe some more stuff. It sends it to the backend. The backend sends it to the database. And now, for example, if you set up your database, interestingly, it's just one way. There are a lot of ways to do it. Either you could just tell the backend, well, save that new user in the database, and also tell AWS Lambda to send this function. Which then, in that case, you have a dependency from the backend, in a sense, to the Lambda functions, which is maybe not what you want. So architecturally, it might make sense to enable, in the case of, I'm talking now about DynamoDB actually. Enable, how do they call it? Streaming? Event stream, I think. It might be the wrong word. DynamoDB event stream. It's DynamoDB streams. Yeah. So whenever something happens in the database, in this case of AWS DynamoDB, it also notifies, basically it's a listener pattern or observer pattern or callback. That's what it's called in JavaScript, the callback pattern. When the database saves a new user, MongoDB, perfect. Thanks for the example. Whenever the database receives a new create user request, it creates the user, and then it triggers the Lambda functions. Email Lambda function, or serverless Lambda function, that's the same. And then the backend doesn't know even about the use case that you're sending welcome emails, which is like, because you don't have to do error handling in the backend. You can do everything here. I don't know how secure, like, you have to somehow ensure that this email actually is sent, right? Ideally, AWS gives you some SLA, or one of the features, I would hope, I don't know, of DynamoDB streams, that one of the features is that the event is really sent, and this really happens. So you don't have to worry about users not getting their email. That would be ideal. Or you at least have to, it gets resent or something. There are patterns. But in particular, you don't have to handle it on the backend. Which is one of the hard things, because, well, suppose you save to the database and that works, but then email sending doesn't work for 20 times, what do? Do you delete the database entry again? Otherwise, you kind of have a user that is in the database, so you can't register again, but he didn't receive any emails, so they cannot log in. So in a sense, that's the topic of transactions, not database transactions, but transactions in a more general sense of, here's one business case, it should happen together. How do I make sure that it actually happens together? Transactions, the topic is also resilience, how and error handling, yeah. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. How resilient is your platform against errors and stuff? And then you get into all the fun stuff of microservices and why would you use an event bus and persistent messages and a queue in between, and try to decouple the business case to make sure that the transaction or the business transaction is still working, even if maybe something goes wrong, for example, inside of here. I don't know. Yeah, so by the way, serverless functions or lambda functions, at least in the context of AWS, that's the same as a serverless function. That's the same as I think Azure Functions, or maybe Function App, but I'm not sure. That's the same as Functions as a Service, FaaS, Functions as a Service. There's even Kubernetes stuff. Kubernetes FaaS. There you go. Because it serverless function for Kubernetes. There you go. It has a lot of names, but it all is the same in the end. Yep. So to round things up, I think serverless functions are a great addition to the toolset of developers. Due to this, where is it? This one. Serverless function, but essentially bridging the gap between, well, the software, yeah, in a sense, bridging the gap between software as a service and there's really no infrastructure, or as little as possible infrastructure that you have to provide to make something happen in this world, to get a function up and running and handle the business case. I'm getting really, really thirsty. So I think I switch on my water cooker again, and I'll be back in just a minute. Thirsty. You said the C word. It's this. It's this or nothing. Gee. the water cooker has to work again. This time I actually will go back and then brew my tea and then just take everything here. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I'm very, very open. So this file here uses serverless. I think personally, this might be serverless stack. Is it no code? No, it's not. Where is it? Man, did they absolutely lost their... No, this one is good. Okay. Yeah, so that's one that I've been using. There are a couple of tools to deploy serverless functions. Serverless can actually do much more, but it is designed to help you work with an ecosystems of serverless functions. I think cloud functions is actually the same. Another word. Maybe. Is there a difference? Cloud functions and serverless functions? Google calls it Google Cloud Functions. There we go. So yet another word for the same thing. Serverless is pretty cool. I like it a lot. And they're now going the railway thingy. Infrastructure as a service, like in minutes. You want a Redis? Yeah, click here and you have a Redis. You want a MongoDB? Click here, you have a MongoDB. Very interesting project. Serverless pretty much now does the serverless cloud. Did they actually deploy it? I was in the beta test. Do they have? There it is. Yeah, serverless cloud. It is launched. Yeah. This pretty much does the same. Giving you also the infrastructure to support that. Not above the level of... Maybe I'm talking nonsense now about serverless cloud. I think I do. I just stopped. Serverless framework itself, a lot of AWS stuff, but you can actually... So if we look at my stuff here, I also use this to deploy permissions. I use it to deploy alerting. So every single function here actually has alerting. I use it to deploy like timers, if you want to say so, cron jobs. And I use it to deploy S3 buckets, so storage, file storage. And even more. Here's even a DynamoDB. I even use it apparently for a database provisioning. Yeah. And then you just provide type in one command and it does the thing that's specified in this file here. There's a lot here. Man, can't even remember. Okay, my water cooker is ready. Get a question out. I'm very happy if you do. There we go. Gotta adjust that light. If I sit like here, my face is like just so bright. Maybe what does that change? If I take the color every slightly? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. On the note of Lambda functions, there is absolutely a use case. But as any tool, it has its place, right? If you have a hammer, use it for nails. If you have screws, you probably shouldn't use a hammer, right? So, depending on the problem, it absolutely makes sense to switch the tool that you're using. The problem that I find with is that, particularly in a more senior position, that you have to take. You have all of these business cases, and there are all these great tools. The problem is if you use them all at once, it just gets so messy and complicated in your project that nobody can do anything, except maybe the person who has specifically done this one job. So the balance act between using the right tool in the right moment, or using a better tool in the right moment, and keeping your setup consistent and, let's say, understandable at a reasonable scope, can be very, very hard, I find. I've seen amazing use cases for serverless, but due to the knowledge in the team, as well as the experience with AWS Lambda, we eventually dropped the idea, and then just said, well, I guess we do it in the backend as usual, like in the container. Get this T rocking, and finally I can join here. So cheers, everybody. Oh, the music stopped, did it? Oh no, there it is. Okay. I used you're learning TypeScript. Maze, you use TypeScript in various projects, but you're still learning a lot about it now and then. I'm still a beginner as a software dev in general, since I'm applying for my first job after university anyway. Huh. Good. Fingers crossed. Sorry. In Germany, we're pressing thumbs essentially. In English, it's fingers crossed. Yeah, there are a lot of great tools out there. A lot of great tools, and using them wisely is challenging. So, do we have like a says? Here we have one. Where they have actually twice functions as a service. Interesting. So maybe they mean they are flexible in a sense. Yeah. What else do we have? I can have cheeseburger. I love how it looks. Can I have cheeseburger? Please? I love I can have cheeseburger. So let's close all of these. We talked a bit about everything, I think. Apparently we do have a nav bar. Look at that. But it has no functionality. It has no functionality. So if I click this button, it doesn't do anything. So that's probably what I was saying. Navbar functionality. Oh, I even wrote functionality in the to-do. I should read the to-do properly. Yeah, one thing that I that is so obvious but often overlooked. Read the story description or the ticket description if you're working on something. This is a typical case of, don't I have a navbar already? So I'm done with that ticket. But it actually says, oh, do the functionality. Cool. So I think sign-in should redirect us So switching over to the application that we have here, none of these are clickable. Now they are. Okay, interesting. I wonder why they weren't before. I can write stuff. And there's our beautiful logo, isn't it beautiful? Ah, it's nice to see people actually talking in chat. That's such a great feeling, believe me. We're getting close to 1 year. 17th of March I started streaming. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks and 1 day. And it's so nice to have actually people talking and asking questions in chat. Not yet. But thank you. Thank you anyway. Yeah, it's all thanks to you. So here you go. Have some tea. Yeah, look at it. So much tea on the screen. Cool. Nice. Love to see the collaboration. Love to see the collaboration. So let's take a look here at what we have. We could, for example, so before we can use orders, I think we need to sign in. Otherwise, orders won't work, right? What's this? That's the actual add to cart, then it puts it into here, for example. I'm not yet sure how we want to handle stuff in case something is not. How we want to handle side effects in here. Let's maybe start with a simple one, sign in, because we do have a sign-in page. It looks completely different from. Write something on JavaScript and complain about it. I like that one. VS Code is pretty good in JavaScript, by the way, by now. Beautiful. Yeah. Do something special. A costume. I don't have any clothes. I only have 2 outfits. So 2.5. So that won't work. I mean, we do have lights now. Isn't that something? Look at it. The other day I was joining Clarkio's stream. Is he just called Clarkio? Or is he Clarkio too? Yeah. He actually he controlled. That was cool. That was pretty cool. What we built there together. So he, with the help of the stream, is in JavaScript. No, actually in TypeScript, but the TypeScript wasn't really helpful because the setup wasn't ideal. Let's say it like that. I think it was like originally it was JavaScript, and then he just ported it as easily as possible to TypeScript, losing a lot of the coolness of TypeScript. But what he had lights, and they found an API endpoint on the Wi-Fi that lights are running on. Saying that, it's kind of interesting to me that the lights are on the Wi-Fi, but nevertheless, they were. It must be kind of smart stuff. And then somebody with some hacking skill and looking at the TCP requests that are sent over the wire, from the controller of the lights to the lights. They were able to find out the API to talk to the light. And then we wrote API requests to the light to make kind of a flashbang, and like it gets flashy all of a sudden. And that was pretty cool. I liked it a lot. I think I can make this like incredibly bright if I want it to be. Now the light is really bluish. Let's make it a little nicer. Yeah, now I see now I look like a German. What am I talking about? Now I'm mixing up German and English. now I look like a human again. So ChakraUI was pretty cool. Every Friday is his stream, by the way. So let's do the sign-in here. Somewhere here we have a sign-in. There it is. And so before we use, at some point I also want localization in here, but let's start simple and at least English. Let's make English work first. So this is a button, and if we click this button, so it should be on click. Thank you. We want to on sign, well, go to sign in. There are multiple ways to name this. Some people say you should only call this handle button click or handle sign in button clicked. I typically like this version, which is more expressive, I find. So if I do this and we give it a const, we can now navigate. Come on, give me a function, thank you. We can now navigate with the help of the browser, window, not window. There, we go. Nachbar, why do you not? Okay, whatever. So that should work. And if I click here now, it should go to /sign-in, which does nothing. Oh, it doesn't. Great. Well, that didn't work. Console.log. By the way, there's a debugger statement.
Baraganol Sapo joined our tea time.
Baraganol Sapo. I was amazed that she was able to say that, to pronounce that. Welcome to our tea time. Here we have some tea, just for you. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing? Are you doing well? What are you working on? I'm always interested to find out what people are looking into, and then to see, yeah, just share the stack here on the stream, because I definitely learned a lot from that as well. Somehow it doesn't trigger. I have a feeling it doesn't trigger. If I click here, the debugger should actually start, but it doesn't. Why is that? We have this button, it's called sign in. It's the correct one, right? We say something like 100 here. Great, that didn't work. Something is very off with the setup currently. Or am I in the right component? There's a logo, there's sign in, there's a shopping bag. It does seem to be the right component, right? Why does it not trigger? I mean, it doesn't even change the color, does it? If I don't set a background here. Nothing happens. Why you no work? sign in. Do we have anywhere else where it says sign in? No, it's only this one. Wait, no. Oh, there we go. Ah, I see. Oh, now I remember. This whole thing is only on small devices, while the part down here, let's see, the part down here is on large devices. Display as of medium and larger devices. So we have to go here. Okay. Now I remember. We might be possible to reduce this boilerplate, but let's look into that later maybe. It doesn't reload though, does it? Ah, there we go. Now we triggered the debugger. There we go. Perfect. So let's remove this. Save. And there we go. And then we find nothing. So we did go to /signin. The problem now is, this is an interesting one. We actually want to build a single page application, right? So, which means we need a router solution. What are we using again? ChakraUI router. Okay, they do it with React Router apparently. I think that's what we are going to do then to React Router. So React Router being one of the, when you're developing a single page application, you can't, unfortunately, just rely on the browser tools. Instead, it kind of simulates the browser tools, but all on JavaScript application level, runtime level. Although I'm not too clever on that part, to be fair. So version 6 is here. Let's take version 5. Well, how long is version 6 here? React Router npm. Because I don't want to run into every freaking error, because it's a young technology. We have enough young technologies here. I don't need React Router to fight against me as well. Yeah. Let's take 5.2.1, which has 1.9 million. Oh, okay. Okay, let's try it. Let's try it after all. We notice it doesn't work. Then we switch over. So, start the tutorial. Run a tutorial, blah 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 blah. Install React Router DOM version 6. There we go. Does it have TypeScript types installed as well? Yes, it does. Perfect. Great. Then let's see. So suppose this is our app, and where's the browser actually? Here it is. There it is. So they wrap everything in the browser router on a global level. Okay, I think we can do that. As soon as, for whatever reason, my npm in this project is terrible. I wonder why. There we go. So let's see, where do we put this? It should probably come before Chakra, but after Apollo. Apollo being the abstraction layer for GraphQL connections. Chakra being our UI framework, so styling and stuff. So I suppose we do it right here. Move to a better place. Thank you for the to-do. Kind of confused about this comma here. Where did that come from? What does this comma do? I think it should be like this. Where did that comma come from? So, once again, take this one, we put this one up there, we take this one to there, and then we have it. Come on! Why? You're so slow. Then we put this one in up here, so it's safe. And then we just have to wait. So add some links. Apparently, the simple way to have links to /invoice is using this link. Or do we have to follow? Do we have to follow the? Let me see. A couple of new files. Location of the files doesn't matter. But when you decide you'd like an automatic backend API, oh, now that damn it. Now that I think about it, since we're building a, at some point I was thinking about using, Next with an X, NestJS, because we're building an application, an eShop. Well, pseudo. We're building a pseudo eShop, simulating kind of an eShop company. And one of the most important things there is to have very quick load times. Next enables server-side rendering, which helps us immensely with our load times. So it might be at this point where we have to switch to Next, or where we want to switch to Next, because Next comes with its own routing mechanism, at least until version 9. And I haven't looked into it as of then, so let's API routes, client-side routing. Yeah, you have to put everything in these pages and so on, and then use the corresponding components. So we probably don't want to have this one, but instead now switch over to Next. I hate that the naming is so similar. There's Node.js, there's Next.js, there's NestJS, there's Nux.js, there's you name it, it is there probably. What do you guys think? Shall we take the high road in a sense? Oh boy. I mean, so far we pretty much only learned. We learned a lot of stuff. And now could be the right time to switch over to Next and backport everything that we learned. I am unsure. Someone should build a framework and call it Next. You gotta be kidding me. Apparently it isn't there. No, npm. Next. Apparently it's just called next instead of NestJS. Do we have next? It's free. You can do it. And make it famous as well. Once you're while you're at it. So Maze, your call. I haven't worked with. So then we're kind of switching targets a bit. Instead of adding the navbar functionality, we're back to NestJS plus Chakra. Chakra. Oh, apparently there is at least a project. Is it in TypeScript? Please let it be in TypeScript. No, it's in JS. Damn it. Oh no, this one is in NestJS. It is in yeah. That is using NestJS now. It would be the right thing to do. It would be the right thing to do, but we're basically doing 3 steps back. Please note that when adding ChakraUI to a TypeScript project, the minimum TypeScript version of 4.1 is necessary. Okay, that's fine. I can live with that. Let's do it. Oh boy. Make directory. Which episode is it? I think I forgot to change the episode name. It's 55 apparently. Modulo, the ones that I forgot last time. Or the time before that. So episode 55. Next, not nest, Jesus. Nest, Chakra, Cognito is our stack. Cognito being the AWS identity provider. Let's do it. And then we step into it, do we? In your NestJS project, install Chakra. Oh, we have to actually bootstrap it. Right. Like here, I guess. Alright, let's do that. Here I create next TypeScript. Why is there no minus? Is that valid? So cd e55, and then we do this. Maybe we do dot. Oh no, don't use yarn. I want to use npm. npm or npx it is. Okay, what is your project name? Please tell me whether you're doing it in this directory or in a different one. Okay, dot. Then it's called episode 55, like so. I hope that works. Using yarn. Are you kidding me? Don't do that. I'm having space issues if I use yarn. Like seriously. Minus help. Use npm. Minus use npm. There we go. What's the project name? Didn't I? Minus use npm. One more. It's minus f. Yep, start 55. Now you can do it using NPM. Perfect. Hopefully it's not like terribly slow, but I fear it is. Okay. Let's use Yarn. Can't be helped. It can't be helped. Let's use Yarn. At least it's doing things compared to NPX. NPM. Yeah. Next being slightly more opinionated than React. I hope most of the stuff that we're doing still works. By the way, serverless functions, actually inside of NestJS, you can make use of, in a sense, serverless functions. Oh, that was fast. Is it server? Next middleware, next request. Okay, I can't find it right now, the correct one. Basically, you get functions with it. So let's do all of this. There we go. And now we have a. That didn't work. Localhost 3000. There it is. We have our NestJS app. Let's take a look at it. So it has these pages, which is important. Currently only the index page, which gets picked whenever you do a backslash. It also has API, which is the backend stuff. And here we see essentially a serverless function. It receives some event and it returns something. In this case, it's using the very much the Express.js stuff. And you can deploy them serverlessly using Vercel, the maker of Next. And then you have a serverless function that you can connect to from your app directly. So you don't really have to write a separate API or a backend if you don't want to, which is useful. Absolutely useful. So what do we need to do now? We have to kind of include all of the Chakra stuff. So all of this fun stuff again. What's happening? There we go. And then we set up our provider inside of pages/app.tsx. This one. So NestJS does server-side rendering, which means instead of usually if you just have a React app, you have the files hosted statically, and it sends over the files, and the browser looks at the files and then executes the JavaScript, and it builds the complete page, and thanks to React, all the HTML gets generated on client side, on your browser. Server-side rendering takes this idea of rendering in the browser, but actually does it here on the server side, which means it becomes faster because a server oftentimes has more resources, and it's closer to the API endpoints if you actually do the fetch requests. Also, you can cache it much more easily, and yeah, with that you might even be able to just generate all of the fun stuff. So we did install like a lot of dependencies, these few, and then all of these. And then we can put in Chakra right here. So this subscript app, this is part of the kind of the setup on the server side, if I remember correctly. If somebody has more familiarity with Nest and I'm talking nonsense at any point, please feel free to chime in. I don't like the formatting there, but whatever. Oh, I put it in the wrong place, didn't I? So I want this one to be here, and I want that one to be there, and I want this one to be there. Then we do this, that, and save. I think now it's correct, right? My app, the component now is wrapped in Chakra Provider. Yeah, that looks better. And then we still have to backport the theming and stuff, but let's make this one. Oh, okay, they're already backporting the theming apparently. So we can now go back to our actual application, go into app, go into index, I mean. And then here we have the colors, currently just somewhere. Then we have the theme here. And then we have the theme being like so. Interesting part for me here is then, how does it find out which size the device actually is? Is that it? Is that it already? That would be cool. That would be very cool. I hope we didn't miss anything inside of this thing here. So if we start this now and we take a couple of, can we backport these in like complete? So I think typically you do something like this now, components. Was it that way? Kind of forgot the structure that they suggest. Routing, NestJS, whole directory structure. Oh, not Nest. Man. So this dude does components. Where are your pages? There they are. Okay. These are not many pages apparently. So we have components. I will now call them index, and then inside of there we have all of these nice little things. Push them one level up so slightly. Ramps. And then if we can backport also where do you come from? There it is. Okay, example pricing grid apparently. Then we should be in fairly solid shape. Although we are still missing probably some stuff. So index now is actually just this. There we go. And then we have to fix our TypeScript issues here. There we go. Package React icons. Okay. Yarn add React icons. also need to re-add TypeScript and stuff. Interestingly, it's still compiling even though we don't have Apollo installed. So we should get an error, I suppose. Because, yeah, there we go. All of this fun stuff is not yet there. Do we have to backport it as well? So we want this nice little dude here. Up here. There we go. Let's TypeScript code again. We need to install all of these. Oh boy. Yeah, sorry for the boilerplatey stuff now here. Until we get to actually see something, unfortunately. Kind of have to backport everything. Yarn add -d. What's happening? Copy this. There we go. We also want GraphQL. We want GraphQL and we want Apollo client. So, yarn add GraphQL and yarn add these. Am I in the right? I am. Perfect. Are you still following? I'm currently basically just porting back everything from the old project into now the NestJS project, hoping that they are more or less compatible. As soon as we have the most of the stuff like installed, all the dependencies installed. That's my current program. So why? Okay. That didn't work. Because we do not have any GraphQL. GQL, there it is. I suppose we still need you. We don't have a source folder apparently. That's a bummer. That's kind of a bummer. So let me... Oops. Yeah, just to get it running, up and running again. Let's do this. And somewhere we have this line of code, I suppose. We don't, apparently. Instead, we have code again generating into source ** something. Let's hope that works. That worked. The components now have to import from their /source/ That didn't work apparently. // There it is. You still want to change this path to do reconsider source path. But other than that, I think it's now actually running, maybe. Damn it. Could not find client in the context or passed in... We have to set up Apollo as well at the top level. Index Apollo client. And now is the interesting part. Is it on the front end or is it on the back end? Because I don't know, I just put it on the back end for now. So on the server side. Put it right there. Where's my client? There it is. Then we have to take this dude and take that dude. Oh! It's running again! Yes! Yes! Good job, everybody. That's how high five sounds. It's the sound it makes. So, why did we do this? Because we were at the point where we wanted to add routing and next. It's so terrible. Next, our server-side rendering solution provides routing. So I didn't want to include a different router, just to throw them out again. And we wanted to use server-side rendering because it's much faster, hopefully. Oops. Refresh the wrong browser. So, let's see. Yeah, there's probably things to optimize here, which I have to get into as first. You need to do lazy loading of modules and React those load a component when the user is authenticated only. For some stuff, absolutely, exactly. If you go to Amazon, even if you're not logged in, you still see the page, right? They want you to shop as early as possible without ever having to log in. So partially, we want authenticated parts of the app, and we want to have unauthenticated parts of the app. I absolutely agree that we want lazy loading. On two fronts. We want to have hot module swap, and we want to reconsider how we drop this one. Why are these here? Ah, okay, that's that part. So edit this one. So this is feed in a sense. So 55 backport start backport to NestJS for the front end. We do some API requests. And currently I'm not 100% sure when all of these API requests are actually done. Possibly because I put everything in subscript app. I think, well, it might be that our friend, inside of here. Our friend NestJS might actually do the API requests now twice. Once on the back end, so on the server side, to pre-render everything, and then it sends it over, and then it runs again, and it re-renders everything again, which would completely defeat the purpose of server-side rendering. So there's definitely something that we have to look into. And then you're absolutely right. The orders part, I think we want to only show once you're logged in, for example. and or at least you want to only access it once you're logged in, because before that we don't have any information of which orders you have. Sign in, on the other hand, should be we should be able to do that now finally. Setting the correct link, I hope. And then that one should also be unauthenticated, like this one. Although these definitely benefit from being authenticated. Because we, for example, want to send, we want to persist the shopping cart that you have. We want to persist it on the back end, so then when you come back next time, you see it immediately again, possibly even on a different device when you log in. Because that increases the chance that you're actually buying something, right? And we want to bring the joy of tea to the world, which means we need to sell a lot of tea. Okay, now let's just take a quick look at the sign-in stuff. What we would do now is we create a new file called signin.tsx. And it should be a React component, so it should look fairly similar to what we do here. And then we say something like sign in. Let's just say we have a div. Very, very simple here. Welcome to sign in. There we go. We probably also want a sign up button instead of an orders button, I think. Yeah, that makes more sense. So if I have this now here on the pages, and if I go to my components, where do I do the linky thingy? Or refs? There we go. Yeah. We actually want to put the following here. Can we just wrap the button in a link? That would be something. One way to do it. NestJS link button. There we go. So we wrap the link around the button. Okay, can do that, I think. Link. Which, from where did it import it? From ChakraUI. That's the wrong one. We actually want to import link from next. No. And then we wrap everything around. Oh, the button is larger. And then we say href Is that how you're doing it? Yeah, okay. Href equals / sign in. And I hope that already works. Where is the right browser window? There it is. One error. That. Because we have this duplicated. Yeah. We want this to be up here as well. Yeah, here we see the power of of dry. Because I didn't use, I repeated myself. And now I'm paying the cost each time I forget that I have to do this twice. And it would be such an easy fix. Element type is invalid. Check the render method of navbar. What? Something is broken. Is it this one? Let's take this one out just for a second. Is that the broken code? Nothing happens. We broke it. Is this the problem? So if we return this to its original state, module next has no exported member link. Oh, well, that makes sense. Where do we import link from? Let there be link. Ah, this one probably. Not sure whether that one works, but we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. No, it doesn't. Let's leave this one out for just a second. We now have two things that are called link. Maybe I think I can do the following. Link as chakra link. So we can give it another name, and then we know this is actually okay-ish. Hopefully. It should be okay-ish. Yeah, finally. TypeScript is a little slow here. And now if we put in these links finally, I hope, come on, I hope that it actually works. Pass href is missing. Okay. So this is path href equals true. Apparently here as well. Not sure what it does, but we will. Let's check later. First, we have to make this one work again. There it is. And if we click now, will it work? Will it work? What do you think? So what should happen is we get redirected to /sign in, and then we see this page. Welcome to sign in. Which will be beautiful, not, but it should be there. So, I will click in 3, 2, let's first have a sip of tea. 1, go. Yay, it worked. So, what happened here now? Because we're using next now, and next comes with its own routing. Because we've put something, a file called signin.tsx in the pages directory, we basically say to NestJS, well, if somebody has /signin, take this this component and render it. And that's why we see it. Yay, it works. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? So this is the page where we now would include, AWS Cognito again, which we still have to backport. That's going to be fun. And hopefully we don't identify that that's the part that makes everything slow. I sure hope it isn't. I kind of can imagine. And then everything becomes controlled essentially by AWS Cognito. So let's see here. To backport all of this fun stuff, do we actually have to? Oh, I think we do. Oh boy. Oh boy. Ugh. I mean, the backend is already there. So if we're lucky, for the time being at least, it suffices to do the following. Maybe. I sure hope it does. We need amplify here. There we go. And then we need to, oops, npm install. Oops, my bad. Package amplify UI React. That the right one? Apparently it is. npm install UI React. And we probably want to say that this is actually a specific version. No, npm I add AWS amplify /UI React add one. That should be enough. What was our original plan? Implementing the navbar functionality. We're kind of stuck at the point where we set an href. In the very, very first one. Oh no, we're using yarn. Yarn at this one. Please be fast. Oh, it is fast. Why is npm so slow? Oh, they're using Dijkstra. Why do they use a pathfinding algorithm? Huh. Interesting. Now, I think there's also, oh my goodness, amplify NestJS setup. Amplify with NestJS. Blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah, blah blah blah. They don't do anything with NestJS. Did they? Or did I? Huh. I wrote NestJS again. There you go. Next amplified. Let's just hope it works. Why do we not have? Okay, there we go. Yarn add we've missed half of the, I think 3/4 of the packages we've actually missed just now. I hope this doesn't make it terribly slow. I kind of fear it does. Amplify. trying to figure out whether there's some specific setup necessary to make Next work together with Amplify, but apparently it isn't. Oh, server-side rendering true. There we go. Server-side rendering true. Oh, apparently inside of here. Can we just git configure then? Oh boy. Well, whatever works. Use effect. I think I'm not even using use effect properly currently. Authentication with server-side rendering context. There we go. So there's something definitely necessary. But maybe we can just make it work somehow. You look like a really smart guy. Thank you. You probably also look like a really smart guy or girl. I don't see your face. Jeez. So let's see, there's a lot apparently. Apparently authentication, we always need to use this with server-side rendering context, and then things start to happen. We are still missing one important part, which is this AWS exports. Where is it located? Just somewhere, apparently. Source, maybe? I don't know. So let's import this bad boy. Import from dot slash source slash AWS export. Does that work? Is that how we're doing it here? Apparently yes, we do. Oh, I added this to the wrong. Oh, I added this to the wrong application. The problem when you have multiple VS Code instances open. There's actually something called Peacock, I think. Very subtly change the workspace color, which I think is a perfectly valid idea. Then you actually see more of you and me. See more in which context we are currently. Maybe I can set that up easily. You have to reinstall, you have reload if required. Are we required to do so? Apparently not. And then change favorite color. So let's make this one green. Or React blue. There we go. Isn't this nice? It brings some new color in. I actually like it. So now we're in the right project. The blue one, the colored one is the right project. And right here we need to use server-side rendering true. That's the important part. So let's hope that I've added all the dependencies to the right one. Polo, AWS, React DOM, Framer, yeah, perfect. Looking good. Let's start it up and see whether it immediately crashes, like terribly, and then we regret all our life decisions. About to perform a full refresh. Yeah, do it. Go ahead. you have to run. Thanks a lot for joining. Mace, was a pleasure to see you. Yeah, and hope to see you next time. Have a nice evening and a nice week. You get some of these. Yeah. Some tea. Yeah, hope to see you too. Bye then. It still works, which is good. This one still works too, which is also good. Very good, I would say. Now, if we take this authenticated app and just take it very sillily and we put it into components, sign in, and we put this here. Oh no, we don't want the authenticated app, that's the wrong file. I want, which one do I want? I want this one. Okay, that's the one I want. The one that I want. Ooh. Just say all .ts or amplify stuff.ts. Let's rename this here. Call it amplify stuff. We should probably give it a better name. And at some point they become authenticated, and we might actually put that inside as well. There we go. T-list. T-list is not even authenticated anymore, so let's remove that one. And then we have all of this fun stuff. Go. Let's see whether our sign up actually shows a sign up page. I'm very, very curious. Jesus Christ, 2,500 modules. Let's reload just for the loads. It's broken. Should never have reloaded. That. But what is actually broken? Damn it. The interesting part here is you don't exist. Wait, I'm again in the wrong project. Jesus. Blue colors. Blue colors are important. So we have this one. Do we have Axios installed? Let's kick out Axios. We don't need it anymore. There we go. What were we doing here? I don't know. Let's kick out that part. Let's also kick out this part here. There we go. Learn React, sign out, blah blah blah. So, anything else happening now? I think we still have to. App.css also doesn't exist anymore. Authenticated app is. That one exists, pal. You should find that. Yeah, okay, perfect. Amplify UI. That works. If I sign in, that all looks okay-ish. That all looks okay-ish. Here we want to now return, instead of div blah blah, we want to basically take amplify stuff. There we go. Return that one. TSA element is Not assignable to type next page. Ah, I need to render it. Yeah, like so. Come on, you can do it. Do it. Come on, next. Don't leave me hanging here. Let's maybe restart. Compiling subscript error. Great. Not ideal. There it is. Okay, we're back. Now the interesting part is what happens if I click here. And I hope what we see will be the Amplify sign up page. 3, 2, 1. It works! Yes! This is our sign in. And actually also our sign up and stuff. Nice! It works! Yes! And we actually started to put things together, which is very good. We probably want to also have the top bar here as well and stuff. But nevertheless, it's starting to get together. We're also kind of getting closer to having our tech stack sorted out to do actually interesting stuff. to say it that way, put it that way. We also learned that Yarn is just immensely faster on my machine for whatever reason. And NPM is somewhat misaligned. But I think this puts us into a fairly nice position. We have this nice button, unless it doesn't work anymore because I've stopped the server. Close. Come on. Push the button. Finger is on the button. Let's say feature, because it is. And then we say, we didn't backport, by the way, all of the amplified stuff, but it's broken anyway, so I don't mind too much. Feature episode 55, and we have a NestJS app that showing landing page plus sign up. Sign in and sign up. There we go. Unless it doesn't. Oh, did we break it like in the last 5 seconds? And when I say we, I mean I. No, it didn't. Okay, everything is fine. Don't touch it. Everything is good. And with that, my friends, I think I give you a very, very nice high five. Everything will be pushed, as always, up to the GitHubs, which you can find. Did I read it like that? Yeah, that's a command. Up there, or wherever your chat is. Where your chat is. And we did actually work on the things that's are on our to-do list. Other than that, I thank you so much. It was a pleasure. We had some fun talking about general coding questions, as well as to a degree philosophy of coding, I call it personally. So thank you so much for joining, particularly to Homeless, as well as Mace, and all the other people who were here. And yeah, if you liked it, please leave a follow. Also, Boreo Gil Super. Thanks again. We will start a little raid to somebody. Let's see who's online. Bald Bearded Builder is online. I hope he has enabled raiding. Let's start that. Next session is next week on Wednesday, 18 o'clock Central European time, plus minus 10 minutes. More like minus plus 10 minutes. Yeah, plus 10 minutes. And with that, my friends, I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining again. It was a pleasure. And hope to see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.